Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Bus Talks. I'm Christine Drummond, your host. I'm here with my co-host Joel Ward, and we are so excited to bring you today's episode, which is all about attitude. Attitude is everything, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how attitude really is your outlook and your approach to life. But first, what we want to do is, if you love this information, if you love this episode or any of the other previous episodes we've done, we would love you to share it. Please help us increase our ratings, increase our following and our audience so that we can get this free information out to people, so we can help improve the quality of life of those that we come in contact with, which is you, our beautiful listeners, who we are very, very grateful for. So we are talking attitude today. So what is attitude? Well, as I said, it is absolutely your outlook and your approach to life. It includes your inner thoughts, which I know is scary. No one wants to know what my inner thoughts are. But it includes your inner thoughts, and it includes your outward expressions. And I've got so many stories that I want to share with you today, but I want to kick off with this story about a farmer. And I've got the notes in front of me. So for those that are watching the video, if you see me look down, it's because I only heard of this story in the last 24 hours and I haven't regurgitated it to anybody yet. So there was this farmer who had one horse. It was his prize possession. It helped the family. It brought in the finances for the family. And then one night the horse disappears. Okay, it takes off, runs away. And the town folk hear about it and they come to the farmer and they say, oh no, this was your favorite horse. We know what it did for your family and that's just terrible. And his response was, maybe. Anyway, the next day the horse comes back and it has 5 wild horses with it. It actually brought 5 wild horses with it. And then the town folk come back and they heard what had happened. They're like, oh my gosh, how lucky are you? Now you've got 6 horses. That's amazing. And he's just gone, maybe. Then his son decides to break in one of the wild horses. So his son's on this horse trying to break it in, falls off, breaks his leg. Town folk come back and they're like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. These horses are wicked. Look what they've done to your son. It's so horrible. And the farmer's gone, maybe. And then guess who rocks up at the farmer's door that week? The army, to enlist young boys to go overseas and fight in a war. And guess who can't go? The farmer's son, because he has a broken leg. The town folk come back and they go, oh my gosh, well done, congratulations. That's so lucky that he didn't have to go over and fight in this war. And the farmer just said, maybe. So can you see how it's all attitude, it's all perspective. And the things in life that sometimes we think are bad are actually blessings. They're actually good, so that we don't have to place a good or a bad label on these events in our life. It is all attitude. And the farmer maintaining a neutral attitude to these things that were occurring meant that he could be more present, more aware, and have this amazing attitude of just what will be, will be. You know, it is what it is. And that's what we want to give you guys today. We want to give you that gift of open-mindedness. We don't want you walking around with these negative thoughts, giving labels to things that it's good or bad. That's just perception. 2 people can be at the exact same event and have 2 completely different experiences at that event. One person will come away thinking it was the greatest event in the world and come away feeling so loved and, you know, abundant and grateful. And the other person will think it was the most horrific, horrendous event in the world and come away with so much negativity. It is all perception. It's how we see things. Okay. So Joel, wanted to open with that story because I think it's so relevant to what we're talking about today and how we show up in the world, with our attitude in check.
I love that story. I don't know where I heard it before. It's but I remember when I heard it first, it was amazing. And like What a way to start the podcast, Christine. It's yeah, and in the strange times we're in now, like attitude really is everything. You know, you can, and honestly, you're gonna have days where you think it's hard to drag one foot after the other, but you just can't live like that. You gotta this is an opportunity for you to and the listeners and everyone on earth really to, you know, level the hell up, build a muscle, you know. So, and without an open mind, you know, they say that life, you know, your mind is like a parachute. It's better if it's opened, you know. So, you know, and instead of living, you know, your like today, like it's just another day in your life, like live it as if your entire life is in this day. And you start asking yourself better questions, because I've said it in many podcasts before, and it's something that I've worked out myself. I don't think I've ever been taught this, but it was just something I noticed inside myself, was that anytime I'm not feeling great, it's usually because inside my mind, my self-talk, I'm making statements. Whenever you're making statements like, this is shit, oh, there's no hope, or that's bad, you're actually like, your subconscious mind, and the most powerful supercomputer in the cosmos, just sits there and shrugs its shoulder and goes, okay, and just sits there idling. But if you can actually stop making statements and then ask questions and get really, really great at asking great questions, you know, problem solving questions, well, then you can do something with that. You know what I mean? Like often I have people ring me and like contact me and they're making statements. And then I've become short in my old age. I just say, well, what do you want me to do with that? I can't do anything about that. And they're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, what if we started finding ways to come up with a solution? Like on a side story, like I was just lucky enough to go and get the tour through a cheese factory and a dairy factory and like ice cream, all the, you know, the cool stuff, yogurt. And the gentleman that owns it, he bought it practically sight unseen. And it was a pretty big disaster when he first got there. And he was the most can-do guy I've basically ever met. Any problem he had, he was just like, okay, well, let's just solve it. Like he had a problem with all the nonsense that's going on, that the testing of the milk that used to have to go to a laboratory outside, and like the lead time for that, it's just gone crazy because what is going on. And he went, well, stuff it. I'll build my own laboratory and hire my own scientists. And that's what he did. And he built it in a shipping container, made it all above board, everything like that. Same thing. He needed a piece of equipment. He brought engineers in to build his own equipment. Like, how crazy is that? And he's just pointing at all these things saying, oh, that costs that, that costs that. I'm sitting here going, wow, this guy just makes shit happen. And that's it. Like, you want to become a problem solver. That's how you're moving forward. Questions will move you forward. Statements will just lock the park brake on and you'll be sitting still. So what I find is, if you really want the solution to all this, just write it up all over the fridge, over your put stuff on the walls, on the doors, everywhere, until this becomes habit to ask yourself, am I spending 95% of my time looking for solutions, or am I spending 95% of my time focusing on the problem? And I can tell you the majority, and we're not speaking to people that are part of the majority here. I know that. You wouldn't be listening to this. People have already long since stopped listening to us if you're part of the majority. We're part of the 5%. And to be part of the 5%, you got to spend 95% of your time looking for solutions. And that maths adds up any way you look at it, because I'm telling you, most people are looking at the 95% are looking at for a way for someone to come save them. They're not asking great questions. They're literally got a terrible attitude and that will lead to a terrible life, and I'll reiterate one last time, you're not going to have good days every day. You're going to have times where it gets on top of you. I can tell you right now, I've had days in the last 12 months that have felt really dark to me. I just don't live there. I know that I've got to stop making statements in my head. I have my little pity party. I have my little sook. I have the times where I can't stand people talking to me. So I just own it. And then I'm like, righto, time to put my big boy pants back on and just get shit going again. And that's how you do it. Asking great questions and searching for 95% of the time, looking at your solutions, because the problems aren't going to go away if you just look at them. So there's my rant, Christine.
I love it. I love it. And I love what you said about the mind being like a parachute. It does work better when it's open. Absolutely. And, we were talking off air about this before, about how we've stopped questioning things. We've stopped questioning the information that's coming in. We just tend to go along with things. And, before I met my partner, I was one of those people that I would just go along with the masses. I was definitely a sheeple. And he really challenged me to start questioning things. Like, where is that information coming from? Where's the source? Where's the evidence? Like, go and do your own research. Go and find what makes sense for you. But know that as a race, we have rights. Know that we have the opportunity and the possibility to create our own reality. And it starts with your thoughts. It starts with your attitude. You have to be the gatekeeper of your mind. And as Joel said, you're not always going to have good days. You are going to have a mixture and a balance of both good days and bad days. And as Joel said, don't play in the bad days. Don't play in those dark days. Know that they're there and they serve their purpose, but you can come out of those a lot quicker if you focus on a few key things. And I want to share with you, how to have a better attitude. If you find right now, I am in a bit of a funk because let's face it, the vibration of the planet right now is a little bit lower than we're probably where it should be. There's a great divide happening, and my perception is there is a lot of negativity and a lot of fear in the world right now. You may or may not agree with that, but this is how I feel you can really create a better attitude. And the first one is, I heard this when I went to a luncheon once, and Lane Beachley was chatting. And for those that don't know who Lane Beachley is, she's one of the most successful surfers we've ever had. She's an incredible human being. I just love the way that she lives her life. She's always been positive and an inspiration for me, and I got to meet her. But she has this method that she calls flip it. So what happens is she has this internal dialogue. She has these internal thoughts, and some of them that are coming in are negative. And what she does is she doesn't let them brew. She brings awareness to it. Wow, that's interesting. Why did that pop in my head? How can I flip that? And just with the click of a finger, she flips it into a positive right then and there. And then she sends that negative thought on its way. Like, that is one thing that you can do right now, immediately, to change a bad attitude into a good attitude, is just catch that next negative thought and flip it into a positive. What's the positive? The second thing is surrounding yourself with positivity. And I've got 3 P's here. The first one is people. Who are you spending time with? Now, a lot of us have negative partners. We do. So you can either sit there and blame and point the finger and go, oh, he's so negative, or she's so negative, it's so hard living with that person with that attitude. Or you can be the light. You can be the positive energy. You can raise the vibration of the household. You can have some radical communication and say, hey, when you're in this state, when you're in this vibration, when you're in this mood, it actually brings the whole energy of the house down. And that's not the way I want to live. I want to live in a more harmonious state, a more harmonious home. So have that communication with that person. Let them know how that energy makes you feel. The second P is places. Do you have an inspired space or a positive space? Do you have a space in your home that is all yours, that is unique, that is set up the way that you want it set up, that brings you inspiration? Or do you have a place outside of your home that you can go where you can connect? Like we've got the beach at the end of our street. We've got parks all around us. You know, do you have somewhere you can go that is a positive reflection or a positive place for you to be? And then the third one is plaques. And what I mean by plaques is, what are some positive quotes or inspirations or things you can have around your home that are directing your focus to more positive thoughts? Even if you're in a bad mood and then you look at this plaque or this plaque and it's uplifting and inspiring, it can help bring you towards a more positive attitude. The third one is giving or serving or volunteering. When you give to other people, when you are of service to other people, when you're helping someone that's in need, that makes you feel fulfilled. It's the shortcut to fulfillment, because you're not making it about you anymore. You're making it about serving others, serving the many. And that is what brings people joy and happiness and fulfillment. So that is definitely something that can help switch a bad attitude to a positive attitude. The fourth one is forgive, surrender, let go, forgive yourself. You may not be where you thought you'd be in life right now. Who cares? It is what it is. There's no point comparing yourself to where you were 10, 20, 30 years ago. It is what it is. You can't rewrite the past, so just get on with living for the future, for the present moment and for the future, the way you want things to be. Forgive yourself, love yourself unconditionally for the good, the bad, the messy, the ugly. Love yourself. If you're only loving the good bits of you, it means you're only loving half a person. You've got to love all of it. And then the fifth thing is find your passion. If you find a passion that you can incorporate into your day or into your week, that's going to help with your attitude. That's going to help with your whole outlook on life, because you're doing something that brings you joy. And then the sixth thing is living in gratitude, having an attitude of gratitude, waking up every morning going, yes, thank you, I'm alive, I woke up, amazing, this is going to be the best day ever again. And we literally, Joel and I have a friend that she wakes up every morning and says that this is going to be the best day of my life again. And every single day she goes out there to make it the best day again. And then the seventh thing is grounding down, really connecting, whether that's through breath work, getting your feet off, doing some grounding, connecting with nature, feeling the energy from the planet coming through your body, meditating, all those kind of things is going to help calm you down. It's going to help your nervous system. It's going to help reduce stress. And you're going to find that you've got a more positive outlook on life, because you're not caught up in the busyness of life and the monotony of life. So grounding down, finding peace and serenity in your day and that stillness is so important for building an incredible attitude. And then the last one is looking at things with open-mindedness, which we spoke about before, not questioning things in regards to, is it good or bad? But questioning things in regards to, does that make sense to me? Is that a fit for me? Not putting a label on things or people, but just having open-mindedness, ciphering through all the information, and then finding what works best for you and your family. Because what's right for me may not be right for you. What is right for Joel may not be right for you. So find what works for you and find what works for your family, and don't worry about anybody else in the journey that they're on, because no one else gives a shit about your journey. No one else is, as Joel said, is coming to save you. You're in control of your thoughts, you're in control of your attitude, you're in control of your behaviors and the patterns that you're creating every day and the actions that you're taking. So you get to show up in this world as the person you've always wanted to be. So Joel, I know that was a lot of steps, 8 steps, but I feel like each one is so important in building, a positive attitude. What do you reckon?
Well, absolutely. And for the listeners right now, that was a lot of steps, and it might be a lot to chew if you went and tried to hit all 8 steps today. But what if you just took one and focused on one a week or one a month? And so many people want the before and after shot, like hey, I went and did one gym session. Why don't I look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? You know what I mean? Like, You've got to, like, it's what you do over time, you know? So if you hit the gym every day and for the next like 10 years, I'm going to say that even if you did little bits, you're going to be fitter than if you go for 3 months. So the same goes for this, you know? So what Christine just said, they're all amazing points. And Christine would be following those practically every day. But Christine's been at this for over a decade. And that's like, it's building that muscle. Christine's capacity to learn and adapt to this stuff is far greater than someone who's just starting out. You know, if this is your first day thinking, well, geez, I need something different in my life. Yeah, you're going to be excited. You're going to want to hit all 8. Well, maybe just hit 1. And then when you got that down pat, hit 2 or hit all 8. It doesn't matter, but don't hit all 8 and just expect you're gonna go into the stratosphere straight away, because it might be 1, 2, 3 overwhelm. So there's that. But you're right, Christine, questioning everything. That is huge. There is always an angle. Christine and I have an angle for doing this podcast. So you guys could be sitting here questioning what that is. Well, is it money? Well, no, we don't charge for it. Like, you know, and you can run through what our angle could be. We often tell you at the start of every podcast, but you shouldn't take that for granted either. We could have some other ulterior motive, and that's up to you to work out. With a lot of the stuff that happens in the planet, like that's happening now, that's happened for the last 20, 30, 40,000 years, it doesn't matter what it is. There's an angle, and you know, and it's not always to have your best in, like, what's best for you in it. A lot of people are doing things and saying things because it's what's best for them, which in the low levels of vibrations, they are thinking in a win-lose situation. They're not thinking win-win. They're thinking, how do I win by making you lose? And they're okay with that. So question, like, wonder why. Oh, geez, isn't that interesting? I wonder why they're having to do things this way to make this happen. Because, you know, something's fishy. Like, question everything, you know, and don't be frightened of the pain. The pain gets you moving. It really does. You'll move further, faster away from pain than you will by moving towards pleasure in most cases. Pain and feeling negative is a call to action that something needs to change. You're not executing correctly on something. It's the universe. That's how it talks to you. It can't walk up to you and say, what do you think it's going to do? Do you think it's going to knock on your door and speak English to you? No, it speaks in vibration. It speaks in frequency. It's grabbing you by the collar and shaking you and saying, hey, you're going the wrong way. If you're feeling heavy, that's the opposite to feeling light. So heavy is the opposite to enlightenment. You want to be on the path to enlightenment. Well, you want to be doing things that make you feel enlightened. It's like, I don't know how I can say that slower. Maybe I need to get hand puppets out and do some sort of cartoon animation, but
yes, we want that, don't we?
That's it, you know. Christine, I don't know how else to say it. Like
see
that,
hand
you know?
puppets.
So get the sock puppets out and little, like, you know, but it's that simple. If you're feeling heavy and down and negative, you're executing incorrectly on something. You just got to find out what it is. And how do you find what it is? You ask questions. Most people say, oh, I'm feeling shit. Okay, well, how do you make that better? What's making you shit? Like, what's, you know, what has to happen to flick that? You know, maybe listening to this podcast and doing what Christine said in those 8 steps. That'd be a great start. So you got to program your own brain. It's been programmed for you, most likely. And I remember like Grant Cardone saying, yeah, I'm brainwashing you. After all the crap that's been fed to you by the media, you guys need a good brainwashing. You know, you need a brainwashing that, yes, you can have your goals and dreams. Yes, you can like do what you want. Yes, you can. Yes, you are worthy. Yes, you're all those things that people are like the mainstream is convincing that you can't, to hold you down. So you need them. Are you serious? You don't, if you are relying on the government or the numbskulls in power to come and save you, you are lost. You need to take responsibility for yourself. And guess what? There is a massive amount of people that believe just that, and they're doing it. And when you step into the light, they will put their arm around you and take you with them. So you just got to believe, and it takes courage, guys. It takes courage, and it takes a different attitude, because stinking thinking doesn't last long in groups like that, because there's plenty of things wrong in the world, but if we just focus on them, it's just going to grow. We need to find people that are looking for solutions and are willing to stand up for them. And they're out there, and you can find them. And if you just listen to this podcast really carefully, the law of attraction will bring you into them. I don't know, Christine, you're smiling. I got way more to say, but I got the gut feeling you need to jump in.
No, I don't need to jump in. But what I was thinking was, when you were saying, you know, what's our our motive is like, oh, we're like Pinky in the Brain, you know, like we're trying to take over the world. But what I love about what we do, Joel, is we are looking for that win-win. Like, we don't financially benefit from doing this podcast, but we win because we get to ingrain what we've learned. And the best way to learn what you're being taught is to go and teach it on. So we win in that way. And hopefully you guys are winning, because you're getting this information, and maybe it's changing and challenging your thought process. Maybe you're using some of the techniques and strategies and tools that we're giving you on this podcast, and it's changing your life or positively impacting the way that you live. Maybe it's changed the way that you dream, the way that you visualize your future for yourself, your family. You know, that's why we do this podcast. It brings us joy. It ticks so many boxes for us. And, you know, like I just love that we get to provide, I suppose, positivity, and we get to, share information that a lot of people don't have access to. You know, we want to give this information to people for free. So I love what you said, Joel. And, you know, your attitude really does determine everything that you say and everything that you do. And everything that you say and everything you do determines your success. So if you think attitude is not important, you're wrong. It is so important. And I wanted to share a couple of stories. One is about my mum. My mum had stage 4 breast cancer. And yet I remember sitting there one day with her when she was getting her chemo in the hospital. And she was the only one that was in there joking around, positive, smiling. Like, the nurses loved her. Everyone else, it looked like, and again, this is just my perception, looked like they'd given up, looked like there was no hope. You could feel the energy when you walked in that room, like it lowered your energy. And then my mum would come in as this light, this positive energy, and it would lift. Like, you'd even see the body language in the people that were in there. It changed when she came in to get hers. Like, she was like this little ball of light and hope and positive energy that, you know, she sprinkled it on everyone in there. And, you know, she's now, it must be about 12 years in remission, you know, and there was, yes, she had her bad days, but I never ever saw her give up. I never ever saw her have a bad, a bad attitude towards what was happening to her. And the same thing happened to me when she was going through that. I was going through IVF, you know, with my ex-partner. We couldn't have children. It was really, really frustrating, very, very challenging journey. And the doctors eventually said to me, Christine, I don't know if you will ever have kids. And I walked out of that room knowing that I would be a mum one day. There was no way in my mind that I ever doubted being a mum. And, you know, I feel like, you know, we get to choose how we take on other people's opinions and thoughts and and energy. And I don't know, I don't want other people's juju on me. Like don't come near me with that. Like keep that to yourself. And Joel, to be honest, I don't have a lot of negative people in my life. I don't have people coming to me with a lot of drama because I've set some really clear boundaries. I protect myself. My energy is so precious to me because I don't want my family getting all the shit bits. I don't want myself getting all the shit bits because I've given it to everybody else. So I'm really protective of the boundaries that I set, and I make sure that I don't take on other people's stuff because that's exhausting and that's going to absolutely change your outlook and energy and attitude in life. So just be really aware of how other people are affecting you as well. And it might be the news. It might be your family. It might be your friends. It might be your work colleagues. I used to work in an office, and there was a couple of us in the office that was super, super positive. There was a couple in the office that was super, super negative. And we were both going into the same environment, but a few of us were choosing every day. Like we used to actually say to each other, how are we going to show up today? And we'd be so excited to be over the top, excited and enthusiastic about our job, even though it wasn't the most amazing job in the world. But we'd stand at the door and we go, right, how are we going to go in there today? How are we going to show up? And we would talk to each other and we go, let's just go in there and be over the top, like excited about everything today. And yet the other people in the office, they chose the opposite. They chose to be negative. They chose to talk down on themselves. They chose to talk behind people's backs. They chose to talk about all the things they hated about their job, whereas a few of us chose the absolute. And it really changed a monotonous job to be a more enjoyable one. We were able to get through our day so much higher energy, having so much more fun. And it all just came down to the energy, and we wore it like it was clothing. We bathed in that. We knew that this was going to be a shitty day, like shitty tasks. But you know what? If we just show up like this, we can make an absolutely amazing day. And we could impact the people that we were coming in contact with every day. And we did. And they loved that they dealt with people who were high energy, who were positive, that were there to solve problems, because that was part of our job, was to solve problems for people. Okay. So Joel, I don't know, like I just really wanted to throw those few quick stories in there. And I really want the listeners to think back to, some of the events or things that you've gone through in your life, and how could you have shown up a little bit like with a bit better of an attitude? Or is there something happening in your life right now where you could change your attitude to be better, so that it can affect the people, not just you, but the people around you as well?
Look, there's just no upside to having a bad attitude. If you're like, whether you're a numbers person or not, write it down. Write a pros and cons list of, what are you getting out of having a bad attitude? And maybe being curious about, well, geez, am I the one with a bad attitude here in this situation? Well, how could I make it better? And that's solving the problem that you have now. It's going to be challenging. And the way I see the world at the moment, and like you can go back decades, we are so indoctrinated into our beliefs from what you've been programmed by your parents, what you learn at school, and it's not your fault. You believe what you believe you've seen. It doesn't make it true. So if you listen to this podcast and something sparks in you, you know what? I'm going to start questioning everything. You may go back and find things in situations where you've been incorrect, where you've fought tooth and nail for your belief, for where you stand, and that's what's happening in the world. People are learning that they're incorrect, and you have a choice then. And most people make, in my perception, the wrong choice. Most people are so embarrassed that they were wrong that they'll never admit it, and they'll just double down and defend the lie, defend the untruth. Currently, I think there's some people that call themselves politicians that might be experiencing this right now. They know they're wrong, but they can't admit that they're wrong because what would that mean? It doesn't mean shit. Have the courage to jump sides. When you realize there's no point, like there's no path to success hanging with the losing team. There's just not. And no one on the winning team's gonna knock you for it. They're just gonna say, great. Come on, let's go and win. Don't be frightened. Don't be frightened. Because you just got to understand that if you want to win, think of yourself like a movie. You're the hero of your own movie. So let's just say things aren't great right now. Well, we've all seen the movies, and in every movie, the hero's going through tough times. And then something triggers them, and that's usually what triggers the montage where, you know, in Rocky, he's unfit and all that kind of stuff. And then it sparks, the spark happens and he goes and trains like crazy. Or the person that's overweight goes, I've had enough. And then they go and train like crazy. And the montage happens where 2 years or whatever pass and they become the ninja, you know, like that could be you. If you were the hero of your own movie and you're a Hollywood blockbuster, what would that hero do right now? Look it up. Joe Rogan's explains this way better. Look up hero of your own movie, Joe Rogan. Listen to it. It's like, there's a shorter version. It's like a minute and a half. And then go do that. What would the hero of your movie do right now? Would they sit down and expect, like, I don't know, Christine, was there ever a movie that you remember where the hero just went, stuff it, I'm going to sit on the lounge, watch TV, and someone's going to come save me? Did that ever happen?
No, not that I can recall.
And Hollywood's the worst cesspool on the planet. And even they don't try to push that nonsense yet. So be the hero, because honestly, if in 10 years time, you created a time machine and you could come back and meet yourself now, are you going to be happy for the choices you made, or are you going to want to punch yourself in the face? You know, if your future self met you right now, they're going to come and embrace you and go, wow, it was worth it. I can't let you know what's going to happen, but it's crazy. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you took a stand for your life and you made a difference, and your life's full of joy, money, health, family, friends, passion, joy, bliss. Or are they going to say, hey, you sat on the lounge, you got fat, you listened to the nonsense that's going on, and yeah, now you got cancer, heart disease, and your wife left you because you're gross. Like, that's, it's like, it's crazy. Like, what is going to happen for you? And it all comes back to attitude. Change your attitude, change your life. If you want the world to change, you need to change, because you will project what's on the inside outside, and you can take that to the bank, literally. Christine.
I love that, mate. And it's okay to change as well. Like, this is not an easy process. Joel and I have been working on ourselves for years. And sometimes it's so frustrating when you get a bad attitude because you know better. You know you've got the tools to get out of it. Sometimes you do want to just sit there for a little bit in your pity party and be sad and just have a sad day, and that's okay. But what we want, you guys, is we want you to live a fulfilling life. We want you to live an inspired life. You know, I always go back to what Keurig said, Keurig Ashley said in his amazing book, How Would Love Respond? And, you know, at the end of the day, when we look back on our life, we're going to look back and go, you know, did we live, did we love, and did we matter? And that's the attitude that I try and show up with every single day. It's so hard sometimes, but that's one of my mantras, you know, is how can I live more today? You know, how can I matter today? How can I love more today? And sometimes that love might just be directed at myself. sometimes it might be directed at somebody else, and sometimes it might be telepathically sent to someone who I can see is in a negative situation or who is hating on people. And, in those situations, I just send so much love to those people, because in that moment, I feel like there's just no love and respect for themselves, and they need all the love they can get. So I think that's it from us today, Joel. Like, this has been pretty big, pretty powerful, I feel. A lot of gold nuggets
I've had
in
a
there.
rant or two. I feel like I've dropped the mic a couple of times, but I'm just so passionate about people taking a stand and standing up for their own life, because no one's going to do it for you. And when you do, it encourages others to do the same. And you can change the world if you just stand up. Very rarely, like, it's funny. You see, you're at a nightclub or whatever, and there's no one on the dance floor until that one brave soul stands up. And then they're the only one on the dance floor. It's usually Christine. And then, but they're there on their own for quite a while until the second person goes out. And then straight away, you've seen this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, then the dance floor is full. But someone's got to stand up first for that. And in your family, that could be you. That could, and if you're the second person, great. Let us be the first people maybe in your life. We're standing up. We don't know how it's going to turn out, but I know that there's a 100% chance of things not working out if you don't stand up. So even a 50-50 or a 90-10 chance is better than 0. So stand up. You're not going to be alone. Trust me. I did not know. I thought good people were something that I saw in the movies. I kid you not, that was my belief. Until about 10 years ago, when everything went to crap for me. And I thought, wow, I'm in the worst position in my life that I've ever been. And that was my belief. Turned out that it was just a reset. And when I actually found the courage to stand up, I just met this community. I was like, where the heck have you been all my life? I wished I was put in this from day one, but hey, I had to earn my stripes. I had to go through the challenge and stand up. And if you're getting challenged right now, you're going to look back in 10 years' time and go, wow, I stood up and my life is totally different. And then you get the blessing to maybe be doing a podcast telling people your story, and that will be their inspiration to stand up. And it's just a massive flow-on effect. It's just going to compound. So I hope this has worked out for you. I hope this is great. And I am passionate about this. And that's why no matter what, we're going to keep doing the podcast. It's our outlet. And we can't give this miracle without it happening for us as well. So who can you go give a miracle to today? Because it'll happen to you as well. That's it.
I love that. And Joel's just giving you all permission to go out dancing. And if there's no dance floor, go and create your own damn dance floor. That's what I do. So go out there.
He does.
And be the light. Okay. Go and shine your light, guys. Awesome. Great podcast. We will see you on the next one.
Damn. Yeah.